She threatened to ruin me if I told her husband. So I pressed play on the voicemail in the police station. That was the night my husband's boss, a woman with glittering stilettos and a quarterly bonus bigger than our house down payment, learned that I do not scare easily. She said she'd make sure I never saw a cent and take my kid if I blew the whistle. Spoiler, she lost her marriage. I kept my son, and my ex now cuts checks he cannot afford. The wildest part? The other betrayed spouse and I faked a romance to torment them and ended up building an actual family out of their ashes. Keep listening, because the last thing she did before the restraining order is the reason HR called her in on a Monday with the door closed. Me, female, 33 years old. Ex-husband Mason, male, 35 years old, sales engineer at a fast-growing software company in Austin. The affair partner was his boss, vice president of sales. Her name is Tessa. She drove a silver Porsche that purred like a smug cat and wore perfume that smelled like expensive oranges. For months, Mason came home buzzed from late demos, vibrating with a fake energy I now know was adrenaline and guilt. He had a new watch, a new swagger, and suddenly, on date night, he was allergic to my touch. I found out the way you never want to. Wednesday, 8:12 p.m., takeout tacos sweating through their paper on our granite counter, my son's math worksheet half finished. Mason forgot his phone on the kitchen island when he ran to grab the hot sauce. It lit up with a preview. Hotel key at front desk under Thompson. Tell front I'm your wife. The sender bubble was lemon yellow and labeled T. Not Tom, not Tony, just T. My lungs tightened like the first cold shock when you jump into Barton Springs. I did not scream. I did not cry. I took a photo of the screen and texted my best friend Lila 3 words. I was right. She answered with a skull emoji and I'm on my way. While she drove over, I moved like a surgeon. I airdropped everything from his phone to mine. Photos, messages, hotel confirmations with a handwritten note that said, "Tell your wife this reminds me of her." The note was taped to a room service tray with 2 creme brulees and a single spoon. He did not cheat. He auditioned for a downgrade. When Mason got back from the pantry with a bottle of Cholula, I looked up and asked, "Should you expose a cheater at work or keep it private?" He blinked slow, bottle mid-air. What? Because if this is a one-time thing, maybe I just tell your HR, but if it is a pattern with your boss, her husband deserves to know. I slid the phone toward him. The color drained out of his face so fast I worried he would pass out into the guacamole. He went on offense. Gaslighting is a choreography. Deny, downplay, demand proof, then cry. It is not what you think. She is mentoring me. We had a client dinner. She is going through a divorce. You are paranoid. He knocked over the salsa with his elbow. The smell of cilantro hit the air. It had a metallic taste suddenly. Lila arrived. Messy bun, oversized hoodie that said women do it better, carrying a 6-pack of Topo Chico like it was ammo. Mason walked out to clear his head. He did not come back that night. Here is where the roles flipped. In the original story, the betrayed man meets the affair partner's ex-wife. In mine, I found her husband. His name is Aaron, male, 36 years old, an architect who wears clean white sneakers and always has graphite smudges on his hand like he shook hands with a pencil. I found him because in Tessa's messages, there were calendar blocks called Couples Dinner, and one of them had a PDF attachment labeled Menu for Aaron's birthday, from her work email, with their home address in the signature. Lila sat next to me the next morning at Summer Moon Coffee while the industrial espresso machine hissed like a judgmental aunt. "Are you about to do the most Austin thing ever and send this woman a sternly worded LinkedIn message?" she asked. "I am going to knock on her literal door." We waited until Saturday, when Aaron's Instagram story showed him and their 2 daughters at the park with a golden doodle. I texted Tessa, "I know." She responded with a thumbs up, and then a skull emoji. I knocked anyway, shaking so hard the iced latte rattled against the plastic. When Aaron opened the door, his face did the thing people's faces do when you are about to detonate their life. Surprised, then polite, then confused. "I think my husband is sleeping with your wife," I said, "and I hate saying that sentence more than you hate hearing it." He invited me in. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and cinnamon toast. The doodle leaned against my knees like dogs know when to be gentle. I showed him the messages. He showed me a photo she sent for morale that I did not need to see to recognize the robe from the company offsite. We did not cry. We made a plan. We would not go nuclear in the first hour. We would collect everything. Texts, calendars, corporate Slack DMs with kissy face emojis where the colon and parentheses felt like a curse word. We would email HR, both of our lawyers, and this one was Lila's idea, their board liaison. We would not mention it to the kids, not yet. We would, however, tell the truth if asked. Loyalty is my love language. He was fluent in lies. What's better, revenge or moving on? Aaron asked quietly, eyes on the backsplash he had tiled himself. Both, I said, in the right order. Mason came home Sunday night with a bouquet of supermarket peonies that smelled like nothing and wilted by morning. He had a speech ready. It was pre-printed on his tongue. I made a mistake. It meant nothing. I can fix this. Think about our son. Would you stay for the kids or leave immediately? He asked, as if reading a script he hoped would land on my soft spots. I looked at the flowers and saw the loyalty he thought he could buy for $14.99. I thought about my son's Lego spaceship half built on the coffee table, a little astronaut missing its helmet. Our son deserves a mother who respects herself, I said. You can be his father without being my husband. Monday morning, HR at his company received a zipped folder from an anonymous sender named Karma Courier. Inside, screenshots, timestamps, expense reports, and the hotel invoice with the note about me. HR looped in legal. Legal looped in a phrase I had never seen before, power differential. I did not ask for him to be fired. I asked for fairness. He was put on paid leave. She was investigated. That night, Tessa called me from a blocked number. Her voice was both sugar and razor blade. You have no idea who you are messing with. I have your HR on speed dial, I said. Also, your husband. Silence, then a hiss. You think he will pick you over me? She spat. He will crawl back the second he realizes you are boring. I am boring like a courthouse, I said, and the courthouse is where you are going to meet me. I told Aaron about the call on our second strategy session, which somehow happened over cold pizza at his drafting table, ruler marks in delicate millimeters. He rubbed his eyebrow with the side of his hand, leaving another graphite comet. I emailed our attorney. She wants to talk about temporary orders. He paused. And about the Porsche. The Porsche, I laughed through a throat tight with adrenaline. It is in my name, he said. Happy accident. I did the loan logistics because her credit was tied up in bonuses. We both laughed, not because any of this was funny, but because grief needed air. Sometimes I question if karma really exists, he said. Then my wife's Porsche turns out to be my midlife crisis. We tried to be adults. Then we tried being petty adults. Our fake dating started as theater with an audience of 2, me and Lila, who took bets on how long it would take Tessa and Mason to notice. We posted a single photo of the 4 of us, me, Aaron, our kids, at a Saturday softball game. I am in a faded denim jacket, he is handing my son a Gatorade, and in the background you can see Tessa in oversized designer sunglasses looking like a villain in a beach novel. The caption said, Team Orange wins. No hearts, no hand-holding, no captions like new beginnings, just normal. The point was to look like a functioning household. It worked too well. Within 24 hours, Mason sent a voice note I still have saved. His breath was loud like he had run upstairs. You are a monster. You are trying to replace me. I texted back, co-parenting, not replacing. Also, do not call me a monster because I fed our son orange slices and sunscreen. 2 days later, we chaperoned a school field trip. The smell on the bus was a toxic blend of cheddar crackers, permanent marker, and 8-year-olds. Aaron tied my son's shoe. Tessa saw from the curb and texted Mason. How do I know? Because Mason forwarded it to me in a rage. Your little boyfriend is playing dad now. I could almost hear his teeth grinding through the phone. Maybe if you had learned to tie a double knot, I typed, and then backspaced, because you cannot win an argument with a hurricane. I wrote, he tied a shoe. That night, at exactly 1:07 a.m., a voicemail landed on my phone. Tessa's voice again, a slur of whine and fury. You think you can take my life and drive my car and raise my kids? I will make sure you regret this. Tell your new man to enjoy the Porsche while he can. I know people. The next morning smelled like coffee and the eucalyptus candle I burn when I need a fake spy gay. I put the voicemail on speaker in the lobby of the precinct. The officer's eyebrows rose without moving his face. He copied it onto the report. The judge granted a temporary protective order by lunch. When HR learned about the order, they put Tessa on unpaid suspension pending the outcome. She called me from another number. I did not pick up. I push back. You threaten me. I tape you. A judge listens. That was when I knew we had the leverage. The midpoint twist came 2 weeks later with the speed of a thrown glass. Aaron and I were doing the world's most awkward grocery run. 2 shopping carts, 5 kids, a family-sized bag of dinosaur chicken nuggets, and a jar of local honey that cost double because the label had a bee with sunglasses, when Mason cornered us between the ice cream and the freezer burritos. The store smelled like waffle cones and ammonia. He looked wrecked. Beard patchy, shirt wrinkled, eyes red. She dumped me, he blurted. She said I am too much liability. She said you went too far. I stared at him, holding a box of whole wheat waffles like a shield. Do you think once a cheater, always a cheater? I heard my own voice go flat and distant, like I was watching an old video of myself. Mason laughed, a horrible sound like a cough. She cheated on me with the CFO. In a twisted way, I felt a pinprick of pity. He looked like the air had been sucked out of him by a vacuum of his own design. But then he said, "We can fix us." "We are not an appliance," I said, "and I am not an afterparty." Aaron stepped forward and did not posture. He just put his hand on the carts and spoke like a person who knows his voice carries. "Walk away," he said. Mason left with a pint of mint chocolate chip and his dignity in the bottom of the bag. By the end of that month, the judge granted Aaron temporary custody of their daughters on weekdays, and the Porsche became marital property assigned to husband for use. Tessa's attorney tried to spin the protective order as contextless venting. The judge called it a credible threat. HR terminated her for violations of policy. Mason was demoted and moved to an account with a territory that might as well be Mars. He texted that he would not survive the embarrassment. I sent him the National Suicide Prevention number and told him to call a therapist. He responded with a middle finger. Pride is gasoline, accountability is a match. The fake dating turned real in a way that made my ribs ache with both fear and relief. It started small. My son's asthma flare-up at 2 a.m., the quiet wheeze that makes your bones want to run. Aaron was there, making a steamy tent with the shower and counting breaths with a finger on my son's back. The way he said, "You are okay, buddy," sounded like home. It continued with little things. His girls teaching my son to braid friendship bracelets, my son showing them how to build a Lego dragon, the dog learning that my lap was a good place between dinner time and bedtime. It smelled like popcorn and dryer sheets and overcooked broccoli because we forgot to set a timer. We talked about whether this was insane. "Do you think karma is enough, or should people act?" he asked once, opening a bottle of red wine with the corkscrew that always looked like a panicked little man. "I think karma is lazy," I said. "It needs interns." We drafted a cohabitation agreement with more clauses than a Santa convention. He pays his child support and keeps spousal support flowing as long as he is not remarried. I get child support and keep my own benefit situation clean. The lawyer explained the math like a weather forecast. "If you two marry, some of these obligations end or recalculate," she said, tapping dates on a yellow legal pad that smelled faintly of mothballs. We nodded. Love is not a tax haven. One night, on a blanket at Zilker Park, watching the bats spill out from under the Congress Avenue Bridge like a living cloud, he said, "I am not proposing, but if I were, it would be on a day where we had nothing to prove." I said, if I were accepting, it would be when the kids thought it was their idea. We laughed and clinked Topo Chico bottles. "He did not lose me to another man," I said. "He lost me to my own self-respect." That one felt like a line somebody would put on a mug, and I did not even care. Of course, the exes did not melt away like snow cones. They melted like plastic, smelly, smoky, sticky. Mason tried to rally his family to his side. He told his mother that Aaron stole me and told his sister that I humiliated him. His mother called me in a righteous rage while I was stirring a pot of boxed mac and cheese that made the entire kitchen smell like childhood. "You are breaking up your family." "Your son broke up our family when he cheated," I said. I kept my voice calm even as I stirred like the spoon could whisk away the heat. "Our son will always have two parents. He will not have a mother who teaches him to accept lies." Tessa left 3 more voicemails from 3 different numbers, always at strange times: the hiss of a dishwasher in the background at 5:43 a.m., a clink of ice in a glass at 11:21 p.m. One said, "You will never keep him," which made me laugh in the carpool lane. Another said, "You are a nobody," which made me sit in the parking lot staring at the cracked windshield I kept forgetting to fix and think, nobody is a mother who shows up. The last one said, "This is not over," which made me forward it to our attorney. 2 days later, the judge made the protective order final for a year. Lila became the Greek chorus of my life. "You are the main character," she would text when I was in the Target aisle comparing laundry detergents like I was choosing a college. She showed up with brisket tacos and a folding table the night we moved Aaron's couch into my place. We sat on the floor, legs touching, kids asleep in a pile of blankets like puppies. She looked around at the boxes labeled pots, books, memories, and whispered, "Girl, you canceled their season. Then you greenlit a spin-off." Sometimes I woke up at 4 a.m. and the house felt heavy with choices. I would lie there listening to the hum of the air conditioner and the rhythmic dog snore and wonder if I had detonated too much. Is cheating always unforgivable, or can love survive it? I asked Lila once, half joking, half praying to the god of do-overs. "Love survives," she said, "but not with people who weaponize it." We reached a mini resolution on a humid Sunday in June when the kids were playing sprinkler tag in the front yard and the grass smelled like summer. Mason arrived with a box of my old college books he swore I would want and a speech he had probably practiced in the mirror. He stood on the sidewalk, shoes white and too new, and asked if we could talk alone. Aaron nodded and went inside to slice watermelon, the cutting board thumping like a heartbeat on the countertop. Mason said, "I am getting help." He listed jargon like he was reading a menu at a therapy restaurant. Attachment wounds, self-sabotage, shame. He looked at our son through the spray of the sprinkler. "I want to be better for him." "I want that," I said. "He wants that." He swallowed. "If I apologize, really apologize, would you consider—" He did not finish. "No," I said, gentle but granite. "The apology is for him, not for us." He nodded, and it was the first honest movement I had seen from him in months. He handed me a check, child support, the amount the judge had said, not $1 more, not $1 less. He turned to go and then stopped. "Do you think revenge makes you stronger or weaker?" he asked, surprising me. His voice did not have the old edge. It had something like curiosity, or maybe just fatigue. "I think it depends on what you build after," I said. "We built something." He looked at the house with Aaron's bike leaning against the porch and my son's chalk drawing of a lopsided sun on the driveway. He nodded again. "Take care," he said, and meant it. "Tessa, She moved to Dallas, according to a friend of a friend, started consulting. The Porsche stayed in our driveway until Aaron traded it for a sensible hybrid that smells like new plastic and second chances. The golden doodle learned a new trike. He sits between the kids when they bicker and thumps his tail until they laugh. We took an unwritten vow in that kitchen with the mismatched mugs and the fruit bowl that is always out of bananas. We will not let our pasts make our children travel agents for our trauma. The final climax came quietly. A year to the week after the police station voicemail, our lawyer called with a voice bright like she had news worth framing. "Protective order renewed," she said. "No contest." I went out to the porch, sat on the swing that creaks like an old song, and watched Aaron weed the flower bed in a shirt he stole from my drawer. The air smelled like cut basil and the neighbor's grill. I felt the planet tilt back into place. He looked up. "Good news?" "Great," I said. "We get to be boring." He grinned. My favorite. I reached for his hand and thought of every night I had stood in the kitchen alone with the soft blue light of the fridge and the silent phone and wondered if I would ever breathe normally again. The answer was here, on this porch, in the distant squeal of a sprinkler, in the very ordinary weight of someone's fingers laced with mine. And that is when I realized I was never hard to love.